Right. So, this morning we have Miss Meshell Baker on with us, and she is a congruency catalyst.
Yes.
And I really want us to dive into, of course, into what a congruency catalyst is. But we decided to title this Going from Best to Better. And normally we hear people say, well, there's, good, better, best, or there's generally best kind of at the very top. But you're essentially saying that there's a way to go from best to better. So how does an individual go from best to better?
Thank you for the question, Koy. Just to give you a little background, what many people might not know about me, and I begin to share very openly, is that I have a background being a convict. So what happened was...
Didn't know that. You're right. Surprise.
Many moons ago, upon release, I was like many, you're unable to acquire jobs. You're unable to get these roles and these jobs that you even though you're qualified, you've made a mistake, and now you have to pay penance.
Yeah.
Now you have to live with the results of your actions. And I vowed that I would never go back. And so in doing that, I was willing to take whatever I had. And I understood that if I gave my best, all I could give, whatever the job title was, showed up early, stayed late, started watching people and observing, became the solution. Managers and bosses would go, how did you know to do that? And I'm like, I've worked here for however long. How would I not know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So became a very intuitive about my surroundings and whoever I was serving. I took ownership for my role. So even though I was an employee, I had an entrepreneurial mindset in my job. And then I took full and complete ownership of that role. And from that, I noticed that I was always given opportunities, promotions, raises, and it just became a way of life. I was just like, as time went on, the record was no longer an issue because I had a lot of references, recommendations, and raving fans, created them early on.
Yeah.
It was no longer an issue, but what I found was the way of life was so delicious. So amazing. It was just a feast for me. And I mean, I never had a job I didn't like. I didn't go get jobs just because of money. I researched companies so that I could come along and believe in their vision and uphold their values. And as long as those values were congruent, aligned with mine.
Got it.
That way I could give my best. So when you're working and doing things that you truly don't believe in, but you just want money, you are going against every core belief you have. And it becomes a chore and a job instead of a joy.
Okay. So let me pause you there, because I immediately begin to think, for all of the individuals who are out there that are saying that, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that, but right. And they start to think of those never lies, as I like to call them. Right. I'll never do this, or I'll never be able to do that, or because of this, I'll never get that. And here we are now. You were saying that you were a convict.
Yes.
You actually served time. You had a record, but you did not allow that to stop you. You did not listen to those never lies that were happening and going on in your mind. Stop you from saying, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go and get what I want. Exactly. So one, I want to make sure that we really point that out. Two, I want to commend you for that. And three, I want to ask you a question about being an employee with an entrepreneurial mind, because I know we've got a lot of employees that are out there, or a lot of individuals who are working for companies and or organizations, and they say to themselves, you know what? I've got this idea. I want to start a company. I want to start a passion project. I want to do something else. I was created for more than just this particular position. Yes. So to get them out of listening to those never lies, how can an individual who is an employee think like an entrepreneur and begin to start making steps to journey into that entrepreneurial lifestyle?
So one of the things you must first understand, that everything in life is happening for you, not to you.
There we go.
So I changed my wording from have to get to. It literally lightens your life, because when you have to do everything, it's drudgery, it's difficult, it's hard. But when you get to do something, you immediately become lighter.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, I get to do this. This is awesome. So you understand that the choice is yours. So I go to the interview, I tell them I'm better than sliced bread. Everybody does. Nobody goes on a job interview and says I suck.
Yeah.
They all show up and go, oh, I'm the bomb.com. You know, you hire me, it's gonna be great. You know, this is what's happening every day, right?
Yeah.
And then as soon as they, get the lay of the land, they start shortcutting. They start complaining. They get by the water cooler. They start backstab, talking about the boss, finding his faults. Remember, nobody's perfect. Everybody has faults. Your commitment on that interview was that you were going to be the bomb.com.
Yeah.
When you begin showing up every day at work like that person you committed to be, your life will change, regardless of circumstances, situations, and people. The one thing I have is unwavering and uncompromising beliefs in who I am. You don't get to dictate how I show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one of the first things I did was I was the person I told them I was going to be on the interview. I was even better because I always, even though I did the bomb.com, I under promise and over deliver.
There we go. There we go. So essentially you're saying that it starts with self-awareness.
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't want to put words into your mouth, but that's what I was hearing. That's exactly what I was hearing was, hey, as soon as I realized and I figured out who I was and I knew what value that I brought, there was nothing that was going to sway me from being me, from being authentic and authentically showing up each and every day. When I say I'm the bomb.com, not only do I think that I'm the bomb.com, I believe it and I know it and I'm standing in that.
Yes. And you stand in it. Yes. And that's the greatest challenge that I hear people say is my core business name is best to better. And I really believe that when you do your best, better will find you. What happens is we live in a sea of mediocrity. People, everyone out there is trying to get by, trying to get over, trying to do the least amount of work, but want the best and the most results. So when you actually show up and understand that your life is based on your executed efforts of excellence. That's people who have extraordinary lives execute in excellence at all times.
Okay, wait a second, because we've got a whole lot of alliteration going on right now as well. Okay, so you said execute excellence. Okay, one more time.
So basically, in order to experience the extraordinary life, you must have executed efforts of excellence.
Executed efforts of excellence.
That's it. There's a saying, and I think Roger Staubach has the quote that the road for the extraordinary is never crowded. And the difference between extraordinary and ordinary is just a little extra. Doing the things that you see need to be done without being asked to do them. Doing the things that you would do if someone was watching you when no one's watching, because technically someone is always watching.
Yes.
And that's what people forget. They think no one's watching, but someone is always watching. When you volunteer, do you give the same amount of effort than when you're paid for it? There's commitment is just commitment. There's no big and small commitment. There's just commitment. And are you committed to being a person of excellence in everything you do?
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Absolutely.
I love it.
But that's what I work with people, like you say iron sharpens iron. That's how you came with the, leaders inspire leaders. Same principle, just a different little hat on it, is I basically help people to look at, why are you so uncomfortable with your life? Why are you so uncomfortable with your business? Why are you so uncomfortable with your choices? Let's get to who you want to be, and then everything is based off of that, who you've decided to be.
Okay. So I know we've got people out there who are going to say, well, you know what, Meshell, I'm doing my best, but better isn't happening. What do you say to those people?
So then we sit down and we look at what your definition of best is.
Okay.
So why do you consider, why are you, because the one thing is you cannot do best without having better results. So it's an alignment of understanding what it does best mean to you. So are you only doing, some people believe they're doing their best, but they're only doing their best when someone's watching,
Yeah.
when people react properly. So I'll do my best until someone says something bad. And then I'm not, I don't have to do my best then, because they're not giving me feedback. They're not saying anything nice, not understanding that best is best always.
And I want to make sure that we actually note on this comment, and I thank you so much for this comment, Evan. And it's important to understand that you can always do better, right?
Yeah.
You can always do better. And that really reminds me of a really great quote that says, you don't have to be sick to get better, but you do have to be willing to change.
Yeah.
And for the individuals out there who want to get better, for the individuals out there who want to get to that best, you have to know that you do not have to be sick in order to get better. You can continue to strive, and you can continue to become better and better and better and get to your best and get to your best. So you were talking about being a congruency catalyst. What does that mean?
So one of the things that I know what I am empowered to leave with the world. I've had a personal mantra for years: you will be better off for having spent time with me. Now, what that does is, me being a person of faith, means that every individual that I encounter, I leave them better off, either by complimenting them, giving them a hug, giving them a kind word, listening to them. Sometimes I even pray with people, depending on the circumstances and the situation. But I give of myself to that person, so they walk away going, oh my God, that was awesome. That was amazing. I don't care what, you could be in the most awful mood. Then I actually believe even more so that you deserve my kindness. So I don't meet, you don't get to say who I am, right? So from that, what I actually do is, then I start to, I'll work with someone, and I'll actually look at, what are your choices? Where are you struggling? Where is the, we call it the plate. So if you look at your life as a plate, everything goes on. You might have a marriage, you might have a job, you might have kids, you have bills, you have everything. So you have this thing that's heaping. So it's a heaping pile. What is the thing that's causing you the most problems? And then start to flip it. Look at, because a lot of times the things that are challenging you because you've asked for something. If you want more, you must first become more. That's the whole difficulty that most people have. They want more, they want a better life, but they don't want to become more. And that's understanding, if you really want more, who is it you're becoming? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are your habits first thing when you wake up? Are you going negative immediately? Like I tell people, this thing, I'm up at least about an hour before I ever look at an email. Social media takes me about 2 hours. First thing I do is meditate, and then I put on something empowering, encouraging, and edifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is it that you're doing to create this that you say you want? And why do you want what you want?
Yeah.
It's another thing. Do you want it because someone else down the street has it? Your neighbor got a bigger house, they got a better car, she got married, you want to get married. Why do you want what you want?
So you become what you invest in. And it's super important to know that. I mean, okay, so for example, Meshell, whenever you squeeze an orange, what do you get out?
Orange juice.
Exactly. So what are we feeding ourselves, right? Yeah. If someone were to squeeze you, what would they get out of you? If the pressure is on, if your back's up against the wall, what are people going to get out of you? Whenever you show up, what are people getting when they get you? What are you investing in? Just as you were saying, Meshell, about turning off the phone or not hopping on the phone immediately whenever you wake up, giving yourself some time to process and feeding yourself with positivity, feeding yourself with motivation, feeding yourself with those with gratitude, right? And then greeting others with gratitude. Right. I mean, it really, really has a profound effect on not only who you are, but as Evan was saying, who you attract. Because Evan so eloquently put, you attract who you have become.
Yes. Yes. So that's the Jim Rohn quote, who Oh, I heard that quote years ago, and it changed my life. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And that was like when I first stepped into my entrepreneurial endeavor, or right before it. And I heard it, and I just really went, oh God, I felt like I was going to hurl, seriously.
Yeah.
And it was because I knew I had been spending my efforts trying to convince people of my dreams versus being around people who believed in me. And then when I would tell them, they would help me activate the dreams. So that's what most people have dreams, but they surrounded themselves. All their efforts are going to trying to convince people.
Yes.
Move, find people to help you activate, and then all you do is talk about it, and then the effort is used to actually implement, to apply, to take action.
Yes, yes, yes. That was something that I struggled with, and even sometimes still struggle with. I actually had a conversation not too long ago. It was at a South by Southwest pre-event, and while I was there, I found myself essentially explaining to a gentleman what I did, and every time I would explain to him what I did, he had a rebuttal. Almost as if I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And why do you label it that way? And why do you only help these people? And why don't you think about doing this? And it was the more and more that I was there and I had the conversation, the more and more that I really realized that I had to stop explaining myself. Right.
Exactly.
As soon as I realized that people only understand from their level of perception.
Yes.
And that was something that I really had to digest and become comfortable with, because there's going to be a lot of individuals who are out there that either don't like what you do or don't understand what you do. And because of that, they want to tell you what to do.
Right. And
but
the ones that
no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say the ones who spend the most effort on telling you what to do are generally not doing anything themselves. Because when you are busy fulfilling your purpose and living your dreams, you do not have time to be worried about what other people are saying.
Exactly. It's the spectators who say the most.
Exactly.
Because they're sitting on the sideline. They're not in the game.
Yeah.
And just as Evan put here in the BLAB, walk away from the why people.
Exactly.
Right? If there's people who are constantly saying, hey, well, why do you do that? And why do you do this? And why do you do that? Right? Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with some healthy criticism or constructive feedback or individuals trying to, of course, help and guide you. But you've got to know when an individual is around you who's constantly asking you why.
Yes.
And if they're only asking you why for why's sake, get away from those people. Those are individuals who are going to end up slowing you down. Those are individuals who are going to end up having you rethink. Those are individuals who are going to end up setting you to stuck, to where you're there and you're sitting and you're stuck and you're wondering why you're stuck. And the reason you're stuck is because you have surrounded yourself with the wrong people.
Right. And Evan made a comment that I'd like to expand on. He said, even walk away from the why customers. So when I'm working with entrepreneurs and business owners, we look at the congruency of everything. Whatever you value, if you have filled your roster, if you have roster of customers that you get irritated or, you become disappointed or frustrated when you see them, you need to walk away from that. It's a life of creating congruency in every area. Work with people of the same values. Only take customers that are yours. I think about the raving fans again. If you have someone who is not quite the fit, give that customer to someone who can serve them best. Because now you have two people. I call them the ambassadors. Your raving fans are ambassadors. So you have the person who received what they needed from the other person. They are a fan of yours as well. And you have the person you refer to. Again, now you have two people out there who, if your name comes up, oh my God, Koy is amazing.
Yeah.
Versus if you work with that person who really, and I always say, if you have a customer that every time you see their number, you get frustrated, there's no way you can leave them with an exemplary experience. You cannot give what you don't have.
There we go. You cannot give what you don't have. So I'm going to point this question to you, Meshell, and Evan. I would love for you on the BLAB to, of course, give us a little feedback on this one as well. And the question is, here I am and I'm starting out my business and you're telling me to get away from customers. But since I'm starting my business, I want all of the customers, don't I? So what do I do?
At that point, you just have to be honest. If you're not able, you can start working with them. If you're not able to give them the service, then you're going to have to either hand them off or find someone to come in and pinch it with you, or you just have to look at it and just suck it up and go, you know what? I know that this is the beginning of my business. I'm going to do whatever it takes. That's where the extra effort might come in. Like if it takes you getting extra, then you're going to have to find, okay, this customer does get on. It's not exactly what I'd like, but here are the qualities I do like about them. So focus on the positive. What is the positive outcome of it? So when you're seeing that number, think, oh my God, this is a paying customer. How fortunate am I? My phone is even ringing. You're going to have to turn that situation into a positive until you build up that revenue stream where you can start to fill. But I always think of it, to me, everybody who's handing you money, you should be happy when their number rings.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so essentially changing that mindset from a I have to I get to, as what you were saying before. So okay, so we've got Evan, and Evan says that you can't build a business out of desperation.
Oh, no, you can't build a business out of desperation. No, but I do understand that sometimes people just need to pay the bills. So you're going to have to look at that situation. If they're already on the roster, or if you're in a situation where you just have to pay the bills, you're going to have to, again, change the mindset, but know that that's not something that you will continue to do. It's not a behavior or a habit that you're going to continue to build.
Understood.
Many people that I start to work with, they have a roster full, packed with people that they're just not congruent.
So
And I'm not gonna say get rid of all your customers. I would never tell anybody that. That's not wise. Let's
so
look at your intake process. It's generally what needs to happen.
there we go. So that was going to be my thing. One, how are you attracting these individuals? And then here's another thought. So there is a way that you could possibly even set up a referral system to where
Right.
you're now getting paid to refer these clients who just aren't congruent with who you are to someone, and be paid for that referral or be paid for that client. So that's another way to possibly think about, okay, here's someone that I'm working with that I don't really enjoy working with. They are stressing me, they're taxing me, they're not really congruent with my mission, they're not really congruent with how I started, and how can I now move them so that I can be able to serve the individuals that I was created to serve. You have to understand that every single person who you are serving that you were not supposed to be serving is taking up a spot for the individuals that you should be. So for those people, I am of the belief that, hey, if you've got somebody that you can't really work with, and you don't know how to work with them, or they don't really fit in with your mission, or they don't really align with your values or what you do or what you want to do, how can you quickly begin to move them somewhere else? Because again, the longer you're spending with them, the longer you will not be spending with the individuals that you need to and or want to, who will build that business, become those raving fans, become those ambassadors that will lead to more business, right? It's like, it's a waterfall effect, or I shouldn't even say that. It's more of a cycle, if you will.
Right. And again, I'm a believer in the intake process.
Yes.
So the questions that you ask at the very beginning, and it lets you know if that person is a fit. So really start to look at, and again, when you start a business, you're not even certain of which customers are really that perfect fit because you're just starting out. So that's where sometimes you'll end up with that on the roster. And I'm not saying, throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Understood.
saying is you have to refine as you go. You have to look at the ones you really enjoy. So where did they come from? How did you find them? Where are their watering holes? Do they have people they can refer you to? So again, it's on you to take the time to
Yes.
understand again, but that goes back to a self-awareness.
Yeah. That goes right back to that self-awareness piece. And it goes back to R&R. And for me, R&R is revisit and refine. So many times we set out this plan and we just think the plan is just going to work forever. And you need to make sure that you are always revisiting and you are always refining. You're always refining because you can always get better. It can always be better. There can always be more clients. There can always be a better way to serve those clients. There can always be better.
The challenge that I have, and even from when I first started, was my roster has never been a challenge because I absolutely love what I do. So I love what I do to the point that it exudes from me, so it becomes contagious, and that's one of the things I talked about. People, again, in my talks and coaching, is if you're not excited, if people cannot visibly see your excitement, and if the passion is not just oozing off of you, then why should they be excited about doing business with you? It's contagious. People love being around people who are joyful, happy, focused, purposeful, have meaning. It's a power that really draws them onto. It's like you cast a net and you pull it up and it's just popping with fish. So
you cast the net, you pull it up, and it's just popping with fish. Popping with So I know that we are starting to get to, of course, the end of our time. And as we're now getting to the end of our time, I do want to, of course, ask you how the individuals who are out there who are listening and, of course, here on BLAB can get in contact with you and what you're currently passionate about right now.
I'm very passionate right now about building out the best to better. It is my helping people move from uncomfortable to uncompromising. That's the biggest challenge that I've seen with people I work with. What I love to teach people, have people create habits and strategies so that they can become uncompromising in the way they give business and the service that they offer, how they show up, and how they're unwavering in their values and beliefs and standards. So I'm really passionate about that. The way you get in touch with me, you just go to meshellbaker.com. There is a contact page. You can put it in there and I'll get back with you, set up an appointment on my website. I love working with people. I've been blessed that I'm doing retreats and conferences in the coming months and getting to speak and work with large groups of individuals, entrepreneurs, and women. And it's just amazing to see the change to help people to align those behaviors so that they can be incredibly impactful in their lives.
Nice. So before I even get into my last question, I always love to ask this question because we've got so many budding entrepreneurs who listen to the show and so many people who, of course, are aspiring to jump into owning their own business. So if you had $100, all of the knowledge that you have now, but no business, how would you start over?
How would I start over? I would absolutely look to find out wherever I was. I would look to find people who were influential. And I would seek to find someone in that like top 10 to find someone that I could have a conversation with and to just move in that route and start asking people who have already been making change and doing things in that area. What do they suggest? Where should I head? And what are first steps?
So you would start with the network.
At coffees. Let's have some coffee. You can have a whole bunch of coffees with $100.
I love it.
Do research and then start taking steps.
There we go. So before we end the show, Meshell, what is one piece of parting advice that you would give to the leaders of tomorrow?
To the leaders of tomorrow, the one thing I would tell you is to leap. If you're just thinking about it, it's in your head. Fear is always the most successful people understand. They use fear as an empowerment because every time you go through that fear thing that you greatly fear, you actually feel so amazing about yourself. You don't need anyone to tell you that you're awesome. Fear is actually the best builder of confidence. So start walking through fear.
There we go. There we go. Well, I thank you so much, Meshell, for of course joining me today. And head on over to leadersinspireleaders.com for Meshell's contact information. And remember, the highest form of leadership is inspiring other leaders. So be inspiring and stay inspired. Meshell, thank you for joining me in inspiring the leaders of tomorrow.
Have a good day.